A very warm welcome and good afternoon, one and all. I welcome you all on behalf of Tungal College, and this is Rutesh Zavalkar, your Faculty of Biology, and we are learning a very interesting chapter from PUC 2 Biology, which is chapter number 8, Human Health and Diseases. Today, we are going to make up with the main syllabus of this chapter. Yesterday was an introduction session, and we learned many particular aspects. Hope you people have studied it about very properly. And today is going to be the lecture number 2, where we are going to learn up about some common human diseases, which may be because of bacteria, viruses, fungi, some of the helminthic diseases, protozoan diseases is what we are going to learn for today's class. So today you are going to get up about some understanding, a basic understanding, how in the MBBS some particular diseases are being taught up. Though we are never going to go that much detail like as done up in MBBS, because there you will be learning pharmacology, you will be learning various type of dosage plans, etc., etc. That much we are not going to do it, but surely we are going to get up some elementary idea regarding most common human diseases. So without wasting a time, let's better start up about our today's particular class. Our today's particular class has to be then started with always a quote of a day. If you can dream it, you can really do it. You people might have understood the importance of this particular quote. If you really decide that I want to achieve up about the NEET seat with a very proper marks, then that particular passion will carry you up about in a very proper struggle, and surely you are going to get about that seat selections. So if you can dream it, then only you can do it. I can better add it up like this. So let's start up about our today's session. Yesterday, I shown you up about this particular chart. In this chart, I said you that every human being's health is disturbed because of two major problems. One is genetic disorders, another is acquired disorders. Genetic refers to about any gene problem. But we are not interested in that because that is already done in genetics. We are interested in acquired diseases. Means where human being, due to his mistake, he will be taking up these diseases onto him, accidentally or deliberately. They are classified into two types: infectious, non-infectious. Infectious means because of certain pathogens. So pathogenic disease can be contagious, means easily spreads from one person to another, like corona I said, and non-contagious, easily does not spread from one person to another, like AIDS, we can add it. Non-infectious disease, the most dangerous one is cancer in non-infectious, because cancer is a major cause of death, but that comes under non-infectious. Apart from that, degenerative disease, deficiency disorders, mental problems, allergic reactions, these are all non-infectious. We are interested in this chapter at the start to understand first infectious disease. Once we complete infectious disease, then later we are going to learn maximum non-infectious diseases, like especially in your syllabus, cancer, allergy is been kept up. Okay, so that we are going to learn it down. Chalo. Now, as we come up about in the infectious diseases, we know that infectious diseases is because of certain pathogens. What is a pathogen? Any particular substance, or I can better say, disease causing organisms are to be called as pathogens. So disease causing organisms can be a protozoan, bacteria, fungi, virus, otherwise helminth. Helminth means either platyhelminth or ascalminth, any one it can be. Human being is exposed to up about this nature. Always we are having up about relationship with this non-living environment, air, water, especially food also. Along with that, certain types of pathogens will enter in our body due to the mistakes what human being commits it, sometimes accidentally also. So today onwards, we shall learn up about, especially I can say today, all the types of diseases pertaining to this, as per given in NCERT, we are going to complete it down. So first, I shall start with bacterial diseases, because that is a prokaryotic part. I should start from there. Viruses, we shall come later. So let's begin up. What are the major bacterial diseases? A list I have given up in front of you: typhoid, pneumonia, cholera, tuberculosis, tetanus, plague, leprosy, anthrax, meningitis, gonorrhea, diphtheria, pertussis are most of the important human bacterial diseases. Though this all we are not going to learn for our syllabus, because this all were present earlier a part of AIIMS syllabus. But now AIIMS also has become a part of NEET examination. And for the NEET examination, we are interested mainly in first two bacterial diseases, typhoid and pneumonia. Let's begin down. Take the photograph as soon as I'll be showing it up about to you. Okay. And one thing, remember students, the material which has been sent to you today, in that some extra informations are given. Those who do not want to do it, no problems. Really, there is no need. But as an extra information, if anybody wants to read it, you can surely refer in the material, page number 5, where you will get up different types of bacterial diseases, their causative agent, mode of infection, symptoms, vaccines also, which are been given. Okay. So that you can do so. Okay, first slide you want, take it up photograph. Done? Chalo. Let's start with bacterial diseases. The bacterial diseases as per your syllabus are of only two, typhoid and pneumonia. First, typhoid. Typhoid is generally called as enteric fever. What does it mean? usually it will start up about the infection, especially from the intestine. Intestine is called enteron. So because the infection starts from intestine, from there the fever conditions will begin. Later it spreads to different parts of the body. Hence commonly it is called as enteric fever. Now whenever you are writing the answers in the examination, it may be 1 mark or it may be maximum 3 marks. You have to write in a very systematic manner. Small way, shorter way, and very particular systematically approach you have to give it. How? Whenever a disease has been said, you need to write which pathogen gives it. Second, mode of infection, means how does it come up in the body. You need to say diagnostic test, means how the doctors will identify that this is the same disease. The fourth, you need to write about regarding symptoms. And the fifth one, if required, if available such particular things, then you try to write medications. Is it clear? But the most important thing is what? Causative pathogen, mode of infection. Third one is symptoms. If available, write diagnostic test. If available, say up about the medicines and vaccines. Clear? So coming up to the typhoid. Typhoid is caused by a pathogen named Salmonella typhi. There are certain species called Salmonella typhimurium also. There is also such type of species. This Salmonella typhi is a type of gram-negative bacteria, which is available especially into the water bodies, as well as the same water which is used to prepare the food, in that also it will be available. So how does it spread? How this bacteria comes up into the human body? Whenever a person will be eating a pabot at outside, at the roadsides, where such particular normal water is being taken, means the region directly from the ponds or wells, like without a filtering or without boiling, if that water is used and the food is been prepared, then such particular food contains up about Salmonella typhi spores, otherwise real bacteria itself. And as a result, through that food and water, it enters into the human intestine. Once it enters into the human intestine, now it starts developing over there, and slowly from there, it will enter into the blood. And through the blood to different organs of the body, it starts spreading it. This is how the mode of infection is been taking place. Whenever about this particular pathogen enters into the body, now it starts giving up about the fever conditions. This fever is very high. Between up about 39 degrees to 40 degrees Celsius, a high fever can be noticed. When a person is unable to control the fever, if he approaches a doctor, then doctor looking at this particular symptoms, he always says, let's have a blood test by which we can confirm is it really typhoid or not. During that time, doctor always writes up about to make a Vidal test, W-I-D-A-L. Vidal test is a specialized test which is performed only for confirming a person is having typhoid or not. Okay, we are not going to go detail inside what is there in that Vidal test and other, because that's a pathological thing. Now you will never understand it. But remember, it is always confirmed with a test called Vidal test. Each one is an important question. Take a photograph. I shall be moving up further. The right-hand side photograph which is shown is about the Salmonella typhi bacteria, which you can see. And it is actually taken a photograph into the intestinal regions itself. Okay. Different. When I different it is. Both tests are different. Done? Sure. Let's move further. The first time typhoid had came to understand about, especially because of one of the particular woman who is known as Typhoid Mary today. Her actual name is Mary Malone. She's called today as Typhoid Mary because she actually was a carrier, or she was the main person to carry up about this disease. Let's have a reading. She was an Irish cook and typhoid carrier who continued to spread the disease for several years through the food she prepared up. When the people understood that because of her particular way only this typhoid is getting spreaded, she was being caught up and sent into the jail. During that time, in the newspaper regarding that, the entire news had come. So that cut off particular page I have been shown. There is no need that you have to read each and every line in that, but just remember it. So Mary Mallon, she was a typhoid carrier and she continued to spread this disease for several years through the food she was preparing at different areas. Hence, she has been regarded as Typhoid Mary. What are the symptoms of typhoid, students? The symptoms of typhoid are a constant high fever, 38 degrees Celsius to maximum 40 degrees Celsius. It's a very high fever, students. Because of the fever, you can understand that whenever a fever is there, the enzymatic process goes on decreasing. Remember, enzymes will work the best at a given temperature. Above and below to that 37 degrees Celsius, the enzymatic activity decreases. So whenever a person will suffer with the typhoid due to the high fever, the enzymatic rate decreases, the metabolic ability decreases, less ATP production will happen. So the second symptom what a person will see is weakness in the entire body. Because these bacteria are growing up about into the intestine, the person will suffer up about a stomach pain. Because of that, he will never feel up about to eat any food. That is called loss of hunger or loss of appetite. Now up about the intestinal movement decreases because he's not ready to drink the water, neither to eat the food. So whatever the food, undigested food is there in the intestine, it will get a more solidified. So he's unable to remove up the fecal matter from his particular intestine. That is something constipation, difficulty in removing the fecal matter. Because of all these particular things, he will start suffering with headache. If untreated for many days, if untreated for more than 3 to 5 days, these particular bacteria, as they are growing in large number, they start making small holes into the intestinal epithelium. If once they start making the holes, then whatever in our intestine chemicals are there, it will enter into a coelom. You know, our abdomen is having a cavity that is coelom. And once it enters, poisonous substances start spreading it, and that result in death. But this occurs in severe cases. These are the symptoms by which a doctor usually comes to a confirmation. Is it a typhoid or is it some other diseases? But even though he watches the symptom, he usually asks up for a blood test, and that test is Vidal test. So whenever you want to write the answer in the examination, student, any disease is given. First write which is the pathogen. Second, you write mode of infection, how it enters in the human body. Third, you write symptoms of the typhoid. Usually this question comes for 3 marks. So this much only if you write is sufficient. Okay, there is one of the student who has been asking up, sir, if Mary Mallon was a carrier of typhoid, how did she survive for many years? See, the answer for this was कि typhoid which is there is caused by pathogens like Salmonella typhi. But actually, there are of many strains of Salmonella typhi. One gives complete typhoid, which comes very aggressively. If a person survives, it's good. Otherwise, what he may die. But there is another strain which gives half typhoid, which is called paratyphoid. Paratyphoids again are of further 2 types. So I feel that she may be a purport, a carrier for paratyphoid, through which she can stay with that pathogen for a longer period of time. That doesn't kill up about any persons. Okay, and which may be a purport later resulted into a typhoid-like strain. That is a possibility. Done. Okay, some extra informations you need to have it up. Whenever a person will suffer with the typhoid, doctors usually will prescribe a certain antibiotic. See, without antibiotic, we cannot kill up about this bacteria. As I've said, Salmonella typhimurium is a gram-negative bacteria. So usually ampicillin antibiotic and chloramphenicol antibiotics are being used by the doctors to treat up about the people who suffer with typhoids. But one thing remember, student, those students who feel that there is a maximum chances that typhoid we may also get, then there are vaccines available for controlling the typhoid. These vaccines which are been there, once is taken, it will give us safety for the next 3 years that a person will not suffer with the typhoid. See, vaccinations are the precautionary measure. It will make your body ready to fight against the real pathogens. So vaccines are available for the typhoid. Any doubts, any questions, then you please can say me. Because I had shown you the photograph. In that photograph only everything was available. Okay, Vikas is asking another question, sir, is it contagious or non-contagious? Surely it is contagious. It's contagious disease. No, Nisarga, you are wrong. The vaccine which is available for the typhoid, no, it is called TAB vaccine, TAB, capital TAB. It is called TAB vaccine. Okay, so that name, if you say, then doctors usually will be giving it up. Okay, Nilesh is asking question that suppose a person gets a typhoid once, then in the lifetime never he will get typhoid or what? No. It is not a hard and fast rule. It depends on person to person. Usually in a majority of the people, as the research is done, once a person gets a typhoid, then for the next 3 years, usually they don't get a typhoid. But it is not a hard and fast rule. There are certain people whose immunity is very less. So those people will get the typhoid within again a span of 3 to 4 months also. But at least 3 months, they will surely not get it. Got it? No problem. Chalo, I feel up about all these particular types of questions you people have been asked up and I have answered down those things. So let's move up about further now. Sakshant is asking a question, sir, whether a typhoid person will lose his taste or what? See, taste is lost because of the medicines which have been taken. There are very few particular pathogens which will directly attack on the taste buds, like coronavirus, which will lose up about the smell and taste. But in the case of typhoid, it is not the pathogen which is losing the taste, but it's medicines which are being used. Due to that, a layer is developed on the taste buds, so we will be losing up about the taste. Okay, but it's not from the pathogen. Shall let's move further. The next particular pathogen or the disease which is there, we have to speak regarding pneumonia. But I want to first say regarding preventive measures. Every person should know up about first thing, prevention is better than cure. How we can prevent not to get up about this typhoid? This can be done by providing proper community sanitation. These pathogens are growing up, especially in our nearby water bodies, which is getting collected. The gutters The drainage systems, if are kept up open, then those are the main areas from where these pathogens will come in contact with human beings. So sanitation, cleanliness is most important part. Supplying screened pure drinking water. At least now the government has been taken very proper steps for many years and clean water supply are been given. But still a precautionary measure, even though it has been given, it should be remembered that better is you can filter it once again in the house. If there is no filtration unit, boil the water for 20 minutes continuously in boiling condition for 20 minutes. So if any pathogens are there, will undergo a death. Then cool it and drink. Providing hygienic food free from the flies. Hence, it is always said, once you prepare the food, fresh only you try to consume it. Don't eat prepared food which is there in the morning or afternoon and eating in the night. Especially during these rainy seasons, never to do that. Always the precautions can be done up is take up about the TAP vaccine, which is a typhoid vaccine. Once done, taken about typhoid vaccine, then we will get usually protected for a span of 3 years. Not hard and fast rule, but 99% chances we will never get. And if a person suffers with typhoid, first, you know what are the symptoms of typhoid. If any person feels these are certain symptoms of typhoid, first approach the doctor and explain carefully what all a person is suffering. Then doctor will give up antibiotics. I have already said ampicillin, chloramphenicol, sometimes combination antibiotics, so that it can be easily treated. If any person feels that no, automatically it will get treated and need not approach a doctor, then remember, if it is untreated for many days, it may result in death of a person. Hence, prevention better than cure. Okay? Hope you got a complete detailed understanding regarding the typhoid. Is it? I said everything. Sanitation. Last picture is regarding sanitation, clean drinking water supply and other. Okay. Vaccination does not give any side effects. There is nothing side effects because now typhoid is a very old disease. So vaccines are perfectly prepared. No persons will suffer with any particular side effects. Okay. So there is nothing problem. Safely you can take it. Chalo. This questions never gets completed. Let's move up into the next particular disease, a bacterial disease, pneumonia. Pneumonia is also a very dangerous disease. The most common pathogens which is known to give this pneumonia is Streptococcus pneumoniae, Diplococcus pneumoniae, Haemophilus influenzae. These particular species are mainly known to cause up about the pathogen. There are different types of pneumonia according to the causative organism, such as bacterial pneumonia is different, viral pneumonia is different, amoebic pneumonia is different. Now, whenever a pneumonia is been caused, they will always attack the alveoli of the lungs. You know alveoli, which contains the main blood vessels, wherein the exchange of air happens between alveoli and the blood. This is how the process of respiration happens, breathing. If any damage occurs to the alveolar membrane, then a liquid starts oozing out, which is nothing but mucus. And if alveoli is filled with the mucus, then now the exchange of gases between the alveoli and the blood vessels is absent, due to which breathlessness problem will happen, and due to this person undergoes a death. So pneumonia usually is caused by bacteria, but there are similar type of infections given by viruses also. We call viral pneumonia, adenovirus. Note one thing, students, coronavirus is also giving pneumonia. Hence the doctors, hence everywhere it is said that it will affect the lungs. There also pneumonia starts spreading it. That's the reason it is more dangerous. There are few species of entamoeba of protozoan like entamoeba histolytica. If it enters from the intestine into up about the lungs, then they can also cause pneumonia, but it's a very rare cases. Amoebic pneumonia is a very rare cases. The photograph which I have shown up beside, it's actually a Streptococcus pneumonia itself. Diplococcus pneumonia means only 2 cells will be present together, while Haemophilus influenzae single cells are being present. All are equally affected. All are equally affecting about the person. Okay, different areas, different bacterial species will be available. Chalo, take a photograph. Let's move further. So causative pathogen we have understood. Mode of infection. How does a person gets this pneumonia? It occurs through the sputum. Sputum means phlegm, mucus, means whenever a person will be coughing or sneezing, the mucus droplets will be coming in the air. Na? That is called as sputum or phlegm. So any patient who is suffering with the pneumonia, if he coughs, if he sneezes, from his mouth or the nose, the droplets, mucus droplets will be coming. Either a person has directly inhaled those particles. Otherwise, imagine a person is been traveling up about in a bus, in an auto, in a taxi, and he has sneezed up or cough over there. Those particles, if are coming in contact with a normal person, and if he touches his own body parts without washing the hands, then there are maximum chances that this sputum containing the bacteria will enter in his body. It is having the same method of infection what we are having to say for the coronavirus. But the only difference is unless and until the sputum particle does not enter, a person never gets pneumonia. But it is not the case with corona. Corona, even up about they are very less, it will enter very easily. Hence, it's highly transmissible corona, but not that much in the case of pneumonia. So sharing up about the stationary items commonly, like a person was suffering with pneumonia, he has sneezed and he has just wiped up his nose or the mouth. And the same thing, if he has touched up some pen, mouse or any computer parts, and if later a normal person comes and sits with the unknowingly, he will also touch those same parts without washing. If he has some food, etc., surely he or she will get about these infections. Got it? This is mode of infection. So no mosquitoes, nothing, directly infected. Hence, it's also more dangerous. Hence, we call contagious. It's also very infectious. What are the symptoms? Whenever a person gets this, what are the main symptoms been seen? Fever, very high fever. Cough, continuous coughing. The reason behind the coughing is, if you can see up about the diagram which is given there, at the top I have shown you up about the alveoli, which is magnified. In this alveoli, if this bacteria starts increasing in number, automatically over there the mucus increases. So below a X-ray scanned photograph has been shown where up about more whitish area, not the central one, that is a heart. But other areas at the top left, you can see up there is a whitish zone which has been developed. Those are the regions where pneumonia has been developed, means liquid is getting up collected. Because of this, he is feeling breathlessness, and due to that, he is getting cough. Many times he will suffer with much colder, he will be shivering, that is called chills, and that time fever again increases. Headache, he will be getting it. Alveoli starts getting filled with the worn out cells, dead cells. Worn out means dead cells of alveoli. WBC, and thus fluid will start collecting into the alveoli. This decreases respiratory efficiency, means whatever up about this alveoli volume is there, each alveolar volume is filled with the liquid, due to which oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange is avoided. As a result of which, due to less oxygen concentration in the blood, there will be graying or bluish color seen in the entire body or the skin, which starting we can see on the lips, on the fingers, and later on the entire body part, which comes to understand that he is now having a very severe pneumonia and now surviving becomes difficult. This bluish colored appearances is called cyanosis. These are the symptoms. If untreated within 3 days of the infection, the person may die also. So what are the symptoms? You have to very properly see. See, most of the diseases will have few symptoms common. So it becomes very difficult for a doctor also to identify just looking at the patient. Hence, doctor will do up about certain tests, pathological tests. Chills, I said, na, shivering. Thand, what we say. He will be feeling much cold. So he'll be shivering. That is called chills. Done, students? Chalo. Okay, some extra informations regarding this pneumonia. Remember, like typhoid, there is a about pneumonia preventing vaccine also. Okay, we call it as pneumococcal conjugate vaccine. This will give a protection from almost 13 different varieties of pneumonia causing bacterial areas. Okay, it will give protection against all that. So such vaccine has been available. And once taken, a person will get protection for a longer period of time. But whenever a person suffers with any pneumonia, usually doctors will put him on antibiotic treatment like erythromycin, tetracycline, sulfonamide. These all the types of antibiotics, usually doctor uses it to treat up the pneumonia. If untreated, I have already said, a person due to breathlessness problem can undergo a death. This completes up about the bacterial diseases. Let's move up about further then. Sakshan, how come air pollution will give pneumonia here? I just said pneumonia is caused because of some bacteria. So how come air pollution is having a connection there? Nothing. Just I can say a person who is suffering with pneumonia due to air pollution, he will get breathlessness problem more faster. That's all. When I said pneumonia is caused by bacteria, the question is over. Where question of air pollution comes. Okay. So what is prevention, students? Keeping clean. Better is about wear the mask usually so that any person sneezes, coughs up, that will never come. And anytime you want to eat anything or touch your fingers to your nose or the mouth or the eyes, better first wash your hands. If not, use the sanitizers, clean it, and later only touch. These good habits, if you maintain, then only you can avoid such type of dangerous problems. Okay, chalo. Let's move down now into fungal diseases. We're not going to learn all the fungal diseases, students. We are going to learn those which are mentioned in our textbook. The fungal disease which is mentioned in your textbook is ringworm, dermatophytosis. The bottom diagram which I have shown, the reddish colored particular circular region is something to be called as ringworm. Ringworm does not mean it is a worm. No, it is actually growing in a circular manner, so it is called a worm. But practically, it is actually caused by a fungus. So ringworm is not a worm. The name is because of circular patches developed on the skin. Okay, because this particular fungus usually eats up the keratin and the root of the hairs. That's a hair shaft. Because of this, it grows up only on the skin. The causative pathogens are Microsporum, Trichophyton, Epidermophyton. These are the 3 different genus. There are many species are known up to cause this ringworm. In the TV advertisement, you will be able to get up about this advertisement of one of the cream. I'm not doing the advertisement of that company. You can hear up about certain creams where they will say it will cure the dag, yes, itch guard, that is. So ring guard, itch guard, all these things. These are actually being used up to treat this, because those creams contains fungicides, means which kills up about the funguses like this. You have taken the photograph, students. I have given up about the 3 photographs at the top, where first photograph left hand side at the top is microsporum, right hand side is trichophyton, and the middle one which is there is epidermophyton. Need not, but just you need to know how they look, how they grow. Microscopic examination it is, but on the skin, how does it look? We can see it. Mode of infections. I have shown up about the symptoms, how it is coming up. The mode of infection first. How did it come? Ringworms are generally acquired from contact with soil, because in the soil this funguses may be there. So whenever we are playing up into the soil, maybe from there it has come up in our skin. Or maybe a person was suffering with this particular problem. So whichever towel or the clothes he had used it, if we use the same, then those infections comes up on our skin also. Even the comb which he uses, because usually a person when he gets itching, with the use of comb, he will be just itching up about those areas. He'll be brushing that. So usage of the same combs also can cause it. Hence, it's always said, never use any other person's towels, clothes, and items. Maybe it may be your parents, it may be your sisters or brothers. Never. That is how we can avoid our diseases to spread to them, or their diseases not to come to our body. Okay, prevention better than cure. You can see it about the photographs I have shown. What happens? Reddish skin will be developed when many patches are developed. Continuous itching will be there. Blisters, that area will start swelling. Wherever you will be feeling about reddish, that will start swelling. So that will develop ring-shaped patches. Sometimes it will occur on the head also. Then about that area, the hair loss is been seen. Hair loss. Thick or discolored fingernails, not the way they have shown, but coloration will change. Cracking fingernails will be there. Surely, as Shafi is saying it up, this diseases spreads at that areas on our body where more moisture will be there. Wetness is there, like armpits, the gap that is up about between the hands which will join up our main body part, that's the armpits, or toward genital organs, neck area, because these regions are usually having some wetness. So this is a favorable atmosphere for the growth of funguses. So what are the symptoms? Dry and scaly lesions on skin, nails, and scalp. Scaly means skin-like, lesions means reddish colored regions, burnt-like. Lesions are always accompanied by intense itching. Continuous person will be doing an itching. Heat and moisture usually helps to thrive in skin folds such as those in the groin. Groin means the genital organs area between the two legs, the regions where more moisture will be there. Or between the fingers also, toes. Between two fingers, the gap which is there, that particular gap also contains wetness. There also, these lesions can be developed. Even neck region also. These are the main symptoms. And already you people have known of how to control this or how to cure it. There are certain creams available. Once applied at that area, this fungus undergoes a death. That's the only method. There is no vaccines required for this because it's a very simple one. It can go. Yes, Rajshekhar. Rajshekhar is saying, sir, dandruff is a fungus. Yes, surely, dandruff is a fungus. Took the photograph. Shall we move further? There are many medicines available, yeah. It is just artistic shown, Manjunath. Don't worry on that. Such type. It is just shown to say that the nails are because of some fungal area, some coloration is changed. Just to show it's an artistic thing. Not such growth will happen. Okay. Chal, let's move further. Viral diseases. We have learned so far bacterial, one fungal disease as per your syllabus, and now we are heading up with the viral diseases. Most common viral disease: common cold, polio, viral hepatitis, chikungunya, dengue, measles, smallpox, chickenpox, mumps, viral pneumonia, rubella, yellow fever. Yellow fever is also a type of hepatitis. SARS, very dangerous. COVID-19. Okay, that I have to add it. How come we can forget it? Because of that, we are away. That's so much disturbance. Swine flu, genital warts, etc. Yeah, there are many viral diseases. I forgot here one more: AIDS. Is it? AIDS also should have been a part of this particular session. So you can add the AIDS also over there. These are some of the viral diseases usually known to occur to the human beings. Take a photograph. Let's move further. To have about more understanding regarding different diseases and their viruses, you can refer page number 6 of the material which college has provided to you. But your syllabus is not going to teach or carry you in all these diseases. We are going to learn mainly common cold. We are going to learn regarding HIV and AIDS. Only that much. Other things we are not going to study that, because if you start studying each and every diseases, then MBBS completes here only, is it? So it's actually very controlled syllabus the government has been kept, and that's good. Common cold. Usually we suffer with some of the particular common cold. Common cold means usually we get up certain cold and cough. That's common cold. Causative pathogen. It's caused by a group of viruses called rhinoviruses. They are a type of coronavirus only, students. But don't say, sir, then how come it is not causing the COVID? Are corona means what, students? A virus having a special layer on the surface, having some knob-like structures. That particular structure is called corona. The appearance is corona. It's not the real coronavirus which is giving the COVID. Okay, there are many viral diseases which is having a shape like corona. Okay, so don't mistake it. Rhinoviruses means the largest viruses known to human being. Yes, common cold is caused by the largest viruses available in this nature, which is called rhinoviruses. How does it infect the human being? Any person who has suffered with this common cold, whenever they sneeze, whenever they cough, that particles, sputum particles are present in the air, and that if it is inhaled by a normal person, surely they are going to get it. Apart, wherever these people are going, wherever they are coughing, sneezing, then they will be coughing or sneezing at the areas wherever they are staying, maybe up about some books, pens, cups, doorknobs, computer mouse, keyboard, towel, etc. If any normal person uses the same substances, then they also will get up this common cold. All these substances are commonly called in medical terms fomites. So it can transmit through fomites also. Fomites means everyday usable substances. Okay, these are the same particular mode of infection by which COVID-19 also disease is spreading it, because it's a common method of transmission of any coronaviruses. Whether this coronavirus gives up common cold, whether it gives COVID-19, whether it is giving SARS, MERS, different types of dangerous diseases. Okay, took the photograph. The photograph is showing up how the cough or sneeze will spread these particles. That only. Common cold. Usually when a person will get this common cold, it will stay minimum for 3 to 7 days. This usually affect upper respiratory tract. Now, what is upper respiratory tract? Note one thing, students. Our respiratory system, which is there, it starts from nasal, that is nostril to nasal chamber, from nasal chamber to nasopharynx, pharynx, larynx, trachea, then later up about the lungs. In the lungs, bronchus, bronchiole till alveolar. The part which is below larynx, trachea and below inside lungs, that is called lower respiratory tract. While the part like pharynx, later that is nasopharynx, nasal chamber as well as nostril, this is called upper respiratory tract. So these viruses, whenever will enter in the body, they will usually affect upper respiratory tract, means mainly the nasal chamber. Mainly the nasal chamber. Because they will attack the mainly nasal chamber and not the lungs, so usually a person will get up in the nose congestion. Means always he or she will feel there is a large amount of cough present up in my nose. Because of this, their sound will get changed. So see, whenever a person is suffering with common cold, their sound will be changed, because whenever we speak, the sound will echo in our nasal chamber called sinuses. If that sinuses are filled with the cough, then now echo is not produced, so our sound will get changed. This nasal congestion will start releasing more and more mucus, because their pathogens were there. To kill that pathogen, mucus is been secreted by our cells only. And this discharge will start coming down from our nose. So running nose is the first symptom that to understand a person is suffering with common cold. Sore throat. Whenever a person has got this common cold, his pharynx area continuously itching is been there. That is called sore throat. Then hoarseness, that is what I said, sound getting changed, heavy sound will be coming. Coughing will be there, because the body is saying that remove these particles from my particular respiratory passage. So cough will be coming. See, coughing and mucus secretion is the characters, is the process given by our body to remove the pathogen. Don't say pathogen gives coughing as well as up about the mucus. No, mucus and cough is the defense system of our body to remove these particles. Because the nasal congestion is there, heaviness happens, that develops the pressure towards the eye and from there towards the brain. Hence, a person always is experiencing headache whenever common cold is there. These all particular things can make a mild fever also, and that develops tiredness. Hence, a person you see whenever is suffering with this common cold, usually they will feel less of energy, restlessness. That's common symptoms. But remember, these viruses stays in the body maximum for 7 days. It is not dangerous. It's really not dangerous. Even if a person suffers with this, and even if they don't approach the doctor, and just every day when they are suffering with this, they take up about the steam inhalation, water boiling and taking about the inhalation. And if they do hot water gargling without taking any medicines also, then within 3 to 7 days, you will get all right. The reason is within these 3 to 7 days, our body's best defense system will be developed and it will kill these viruses. There is not a single rhinovirus students available in this nature. There are hundreds of varieties of rhinoviruses. So every time when a person suffers with a common cold, it may be because of a different variety rhinovirus only. Okay, because once our body will kill a rhinoviruses, it will keep the memory. It will identify that next time if the same virus comes, I will kill it. And at least it will give us safety for 1 year. Any coronaviruses when affects the human being, usually body's defense system will be developed for a span of maximum 1 year. Okay, and so also with common cold. Done. Okay, medicines again. I said usually do not take medicines, but still 3 to 7 days is not a small period. We will suffer badly. Whenever a person approaches a doctor, doctors for common cold never they give any antibiotics, because no antibiotics can kill these viruses. Never any antibiotics will kill these viruses. So doctor usually what they do is they will give paracetamol so that we should not get fever. Doctor will give up about some antihistamines. What are antihistamines? Antihistamines are those medicines which will not allow the mucus secretion to take place. Inflammation it is. Inflammation means whenever the pathogen is going there, our body reacts to that. So at that area, redness, itching will be there. Then later heat will be developed, more mucus is secreted. These all the reactions are called inflammatory reactions that can be controlled by using a medicines called antihistamines. There are many types of antihistamines. Some are saying Sinarest, yes, surely. But what I say is, you are speaking a brand name, okay? But in the medical areas, brand is not important. Chemical nature, chemical is important, like cetirizine, levocetirizine. These are certain examples of antihistamines which doctor uses to treat the cough and cold. Those are the only medicine. Doctor says, take this, take a rest. Take up the steam inhalation, do up about the gargling. Because doctor knows that 3 to 7 days, there is no escape. Once that happens, you will be all right. Yeah, mucus is good for immunity unless and until it is not getting collected in the lungs. Because if it gets collected in the lungs, then it leads to pneumonia-like condition. Okay. Yes, Vikas, very surely. Who said that our body does not develop antibodies against COVID viruses? Are those people who got the virus and they got treated in their body, now already antibodies are there. And what is a vaccine? Vaccines are real viruses only, which in killed form we are adding in the body, so that body should develop antibodies. Always our body, any pathogen, if stays in our body between 3 to 7 days, our body will develop antibodies and kill that pathogen. That remember it. Okay. So if you ask me the questions of whether for common cold do we have vaccines, no vaccines available, because it usually are so many varieties and always mutations are occurring of these viruses in the nature. We cannot develop about vaccines for each and every strain. Okay, so there is no vaccines available and it is not dangerous, right? So there is no need. Let's move further. Sure. Helminthic diseases. Helminths means Aschelminths, phylum Aschelminth and phylum Platyhelminths. In the Platyhelminths, you people have learned in the first year something like tapeworm. You have learned up about the liver fluke are some of the examples. And in the Aschelminths like Ascaris, lumbricoids, Vocaria, Bancrofti, Ankylostoma, Duodenale, are some of the examples which are usually known to cause the diseases to the human beings. So in your textbook regarding all these types of helminths are mentioned in the page number 11, which you can please go through for extra information. Otherwise, you need not study. I feel need not study. Let's learn one by one. Helminthic disease. The first one is Ascariasis. As the name suggests, the causative pathogen is Ascaris lumbricoides. I have said to you, whenever you are writing a disease, you should know which is the pathogen, mode of infection, symptoms. Main 3 points you have to do perfect. Ascaris lumbricoides is also called roundworm. Is it? The diagram you can see beside, where in the first year you people have learned, usually up about the males and females are different looking, sexual dimorphism present. The female is longer than the male. In the male posterior part, the bottom part is slightly curved. You know all these things, you have learned it. Chalo. It is an intestinal endoparasite. It usually stays up in the intestines. Mode of infection. How did it enter human being? From contaminated vegetables, means those vegetables which were having the larvae, or sorry, the spores of this or the ascariasis into that vegetables, fruits, or water which were having the eggs of this particular ascariasis, which were excreted by a earlier person who was infected. Because from an infected person, suppose if the person goes for a fecal removal at the pond area, lake area, river areas, and if those water are directly consumed from another person, usually it happens because drainage water and other is usually directly added in the river system. So those particular pathogens from the water bodies will enter into the human body. Either vegetables or fruits are washed up in that water, so it has come, or directly that water without boiling we are consuming it up, or directly we are using to prepare certain foods, juices, then surely it will enter. What are the symptoms of this ascariasis? If a person suffers with this, what usually he or she will be seeing the symptoms? These eggs or directly the ascariasis will enter into the intestine and will start clinging, attaching to the intestinal wall from inside and starts deriving the nourishment, due to which our lower abdomen will suffer with a cramps, like severe pain will be there, which you call abdominal pain, and we feel it is coming from inside somewhere. Indigestion. Anytime we eat the food, proper digestion is not occurring. The reason behind that is when it is clinging to the intestine, proper enzymes are not secreted by our intestine. Second, our intestine villi contains large amount of good bacteria present in our intestine. Yes, our intestine contains many funguses and bacteria naturally present in our intestine. Their role is to properly absorb the food. But whenever there is an ascariasis present, they will kill these bacteria and funguses, due to which our intestine cannot absorb the food properly. So indigestion, proper digestion of the food does not take place. If it is not treated at this stage, then this ascariasis number will increase. They are very fast reproducing. If their number increases, many ascariasis will start clinging to the inner wall, and due to which competition starts between other ascariasis, and they will start drilling, they will start making the holes in the intestinal epithelium, due to which blood will start oozing out, because you know our intestinal epithelium contains blood vessels, so blood will start coming. This is called internal bleeding, then becomes very dangerous. Person will feel now muscular pain, muscle pain, fever will be there. Because of internal bleeding, anemia will be there, less amount of blood or less amount of RBC. Due to this, person will feel a vomiting like sensation. because he will always feel fullness, because so many worms are there. He will feel not to eat any food because that indigestion is there na. So body is saying that enough amount is there, are so much in the intestine. Body does not know it is a pathogen or is it a food. Body says your intestine is full. Now it may be because of the worms. So anytime he wants to eat anything, he will feel vomiting like sensation. It's called nausea. Vomiting means really something comes out of the mouth, but nausea is vomiting like feeling. This results in headache now and blockage of the intestinal passage. If untreated, then very soon it will lose the hunger, and due to internal bleeding, person may undergo a death. Hence, it is always said the time a person sees 1 or 2 days certain symptoms, and if the symptoms are increasing, means the severity of the symptom is increasing, first approach the doctor to avoid any further complications. This is everything regarding ascariasis. Let's move further. The next, Santosh, I already said what is nausea. Don't speak again and again. The time when it is taught, if you don't pay an attention, I can't help. And don't say network was not there and other. That you are just giving for escape purpose. Nothing like that. The next helminthic disease is filariasis or elephantiasis. The pathogen is been shown with a diagram beside is a real photograph of that helminth. It's a very small one, but can be seen with a normal eyes. The pathogen is Voceraria bancrofti or Voceraria malayi. How is the mode of infection? Female Culex mosquito or female Aedes mosquito, they actually will carry this pathogen to the human being. So in this pathogen, if these pathogens are present in these mosquitoes, when this mosquito will bite a human being, from its saliva, this pathogen is added in the human body. So by the bite of female Culex or female Aedes mosquito, one thing remember students, none of the mosquitoes require human blood as the food. The mosquitoes are usually herbivorous. They usually eat the food which is plant juice. And some mosquitoes will feed on bacteria and funguses growing on the plants. But whenever a mosquito wants to undergo reproduction, listen carefully. Whenever a mosquito wants to undergo reproduction, male can prepare the sperms easily. But female, if she wants to prepare the eggs, she requires albumin, which her body cannot prepare it properly. So every female mosquito during the time of reproductive maturity time, they will approach any mammal. It may be human being, it may be cattle, it may be any type of mammal. The time they bite a mammal, they will suck the blood from the mammal. Then their body will take away the albumin from the blood. Remaining entire part, they will throw it out. But the albumin is used up through which the eggs are prepared in the female mosquito. So whenever a mosquito will be biting to you, it is never a male mosquito. Usually it will be a female mosquito. Understood? There are many varieties of mosquitoes, and every mosquitoes which bites up, usually it is a female. Then, hence I have written here, it is due to the bite of female Culex or female Aedes mosquito species only. No other mosquitoes can bite it. These particular mosquitoes, then, can I call it as a vector? Vector means the agent who carry the pathogens. Take the photograph. Let's move further. Hope you have listened whatever I have explained it. You may be very surprised to listen this. Okay, male is never biting, female is biting. Oh, they don't require blood male, they require only albumin of that. That's a real reason, okay? So you should be very careful while writing in the examination female properly. Are you listening, students? Okay, chalo, let's move further. This is actually a pabord. This is actually a pabord, the disease which can be seen. A person is sitting where his leg, you can see it has become a swelled something like an elephant's leg. This is the dangerous disease called as elephantiasis. What are the symptoms when a person gets this? Headache, fever in mild cases, mental depression is there because his leg is looking like this. Inflammation of the organs in which this filarial worm is been staying it. Inflammation means swelling. Due to this swelling, there is a blockage of lymphatic vessels of lower limbs, which results in a swelling of the leg, the way the photograph is being shown. Lower limbs appear now like legs of the elephant, thus the name elephantiasis. If untreated, the worms will start traveling up upward further and they may affect genital organs also, which result in sterility, deformation of the person. Whenever this elephantiasis will happen in such a way, then surely up about the doctor do not have any medicines to cure it. In such cases, doctors will amputate, cut the leg only. Because you cannot say that such a swelling has happened with some medicines we can treat and the person's leg will come down to normal. No, not possible. Because maximum blood vessels, nerve areas have got damaged. So usually doctors will cut the leg. So it is always advised that time up about if any person feels that their legs are getting swelled and different areas swelling is been seen, first approach the doctor and get it treated. That time only it can be done. Never later. Hari has asked the question, if male mosquito does not bite, then how they survive? I have clearly explained now. Every mosquito will eat the food which is the plant juice only. When I will be teaching, whether you will be sleeping or what? No, Sanjay, it cannot be treated in the future also because once it has swelled so much, it has surely damaged many cells. The future is actually up about the understanding, because if we know what is elephantiasis, then earlier treatment, that is only the future. That's the best. Okay, Manjunath has asked her why it affects only the leg now. This is something an interesting question. Why elephantiasis affects mainly the leg? The answer for this is this Culex mosquito and Aedes mosquitoes which are been there usually will try to stay closer to the floor only, whether it is a top floor, first floor, second floor, third floor, whatever. But it usually tries to stay towards the ground. And towards the ground area, whatever the body parts it will be getting, usually it bites that. And especially it belongs to the legs. Second reason, legs will get up always up about the abundant blood supply which has been coming due to the gravitational way it will be staying up. Usually that is not true because blood circulation will be happening uniformly. But still, this is the region where the blood will try to stop slightly. And as a result, these worms will get the more nourishment in this region. Hence, it affects the legs. It does not mean that it does not affect other body part. No, no, never like that. There are rare cases where it will affect genital organs. It might have entered in the abdomen. Sometime it has reached up towards the neck region also. There also it will do the same role. But if it enters into the abdomen area, before swelling should start, his multiple organ failure might have happened and he might have died up also. So we cannot see a elephantiasis like growth at that region. Okay. Bone will be intact at that area. Bone does not have any problem. Only the lymph vessels will start swelling around the bones. That's all. This is a very severe stage what photograph has been shown, students. Usually nowadays it is understood because it is not that everywhere elephantiasis happen. Elephantiasis happens towards an area where unhygienic zones are there, more mosquitoes are there, especially a forest like areas. So villages and other, usually you will find this particular disease. Okay, no problems. Take the photograph. Let's move further. Medicines are available, students, but the best is precaution. What is precaution? Clean environment. Use mosquito nets whenever you are sleeping. Always try to use mosquito repellents, especially around. Say to the government to spray certain chemicals by which mosquito development should be avoided, because any pathogen which is carried through a vector like a mosquito, killing the mosquito, we will automatically avoid getting this disease in the body. Okay. It is not contagious. It does not become contagious, is it? Because it is carried through mosquitoes. Chalo, let's move further. Protozoan disease. I'm going to do only one protozoan disease because two disease, but more detail of one disease we shall do it tomorrow. Okay, but does not mean you have to leave the class. Still, there is much more things I have to teach it. Protozoan diseases. Protozoans, you know, protista. In that, protozoans are where amoeba, paramecium comes. Those are protozoans in that. The first one is amoebiasis, also called amoebic dysentery. The top photograph which is shown is a pathogen named Entamoeba histolytica. It is an intestinal endoparasite, means it stays inside the intestine. It is a monogenetic. Okay, monogenetic, digenetic. Monogenetic means stays in single host. Digenetic means two host. Okay. Mode of infection. Infection occurs by house flies, cockroaches, through fecal contaminated food and water in the form of cyst. Many people say that, sir, this amoebiasis spreads through certain flies, na, like this, house flies. Then we should call digenetic, na, because one host is human being, another host is this flies also, na. Never, never. If I speak of helminthic disease, something like elephantiasis, that was a digenetic, because it stays in the mosquito also, it stays in human being also, two hosts. But here, the flies inside this pathogen does not enter. It will just attach to its mouth parts. It will just attach to its mouth part or the legs also. Whenever these flies, cockroaches are growing up at that areas where this Entamoeba histolytica were present, these pathogens will attach to their body parts. When the flies will travel and sit on the food item, the photograph has been shown at the roadside, some panipuris are there. Don't make yourself tempted by this. I am trying to say up, whenever such eateries are been there, if the flies are sitting on them, there is a likely chances from their legs, these pathogens may get added on the food items. Once we consume this food, I'm not saying only pani puri, any food item, once these flies have touched that area, there is a likely chances that pathogens we may consume it now. And this is how the infection spreads. So here, only one host is there for Entamoeba histolytica, which is human beings, because it will enter inside the human being and start staying it. But the flies, cockroaches are not the host for them. They are just carriers. because they will just attach to their body part. That's all. Okay, can you explain like this to the people, whoever will be asking you the question, very easily? Then you'll be able to make understand now. Digenetic means two host. This is not a two host. It is just attaching and going. Chalo, mode of infection. Infection occurs by houseflies, cockroaches. Otherwise, the water bodies where directly drainage water was been added. Then any person in the city who might have suffered with this amoebiasis, through the drainage, its fecal matter might have added into the water bodies. And some people might have used that water to prepare the food items. In that water, cysts are there. Cyst means a small larval like stages or a single cell spore like structure, means hard resistant coated structure is there. That is called cyst. The cyst, when it is present, it is having 4 nuclei, tetranucleate stage, which is the infective stage. When we people will consume this particular infected, contaminated food and water, this cyst will enter in our intestine, and in our intestine, trypsin enzyme is there. It's a protein digesting enzyme. It will break down this cyst, and as a result of which, this small ant amoeba will be coming outside. As this ant amoeba will come outside, they will travel from the small intestine in the large intestine, and now in the large intestine, their number goes on increasing. I repeat the thing, contaminated food and water contains hard resistant structure, which is a single cell, but having 4 nuclei within. That is called tetranucleate cyst. It has traveled through the contaminated food and water. As we consume it, it will enter through our mouth, through stomach into small intestine. In our small intestine, naturally, we have protein digesting enzyme called trypsin. This trypsin will break the cyst, due to which the young ones will come out. And they will travel from small intestine to large intestine along with the food. And in the large intestine, they will start developing colonies. Okay, this is how the mode of infection. Took the photograph. So what are the symptoms? Any person who suffers with this amoebiasis, means once they have entered in large intestine, lower abdominal pain will be there, because mostly lower, but actually entire abdominal pain, because large intestine is making a U-shaped curve, like you know about the structure of large intestine. And whenever abdominal pain is there, a person never feels to eat anything. So now about solidified, undigested food will stay in the large intestine. So there is a difficulty in removing the fecal matter sometimes. Constipation. Yeah, an interesting question is asked by Chinmay. Sir, when they were fasting, stomach will not kill these pathogens or what? Okay. See here, cyst wall which is there is a hard resistant covering. The HCl of our stomach cannot break down it. It requires protein digesting enzymes. And that first time it came across in the intestine only. That was a trypsin. Hence, stomach cannot kill the cyst. Clear? Okay, Chinmay? Sure. So person will feel a lower abdominal pain. He will feel tightness into the lower abdomen, which is called cramps. Once this will happen, then surely these pathogens will start making up about large amount of undigested food to push it further. Stool means fecal matter. Large amount of fecal matter will start coming out. But remember, students, it will be associated with mucus and blood stains. Reason is, if this stays in the body for a span of 1 to 2 weeks, yes, 1 to 2 weeks, then it will start making the holes into the intestine, due to which blood discharge happens in the intestine cavity, and whatever the fecal matter is there, it will be having the blood clots. Many times, extra information I'm saying, many times people will suffer with dysentery like problem. And we usually say it is an amoebic dysentery only. No, If a person gets in a single day more than four times fecal matter coming out, means more than four times we are going it for toiletries, it means that we may suffer with dysentery. But 98% of the times a person will suffer with diarrhea. What is that diarrhea? Diarrhea is passage of the fecal matter, but it will not have blood clot into that. It will not have blood clot. The diarrhea is because of certain viral diseases. But here dysentery, when we say, it is also passing of fecal matter, but associated with blood and mucus into that. This is how you have to classify a person is suffering with a dysentery or a person is suffering with a diarrhea. I repeat, diarrhea means continuous passage of the fecal matter more than four times in a day, but without blood in the fecal matter. Liquid type of fecal matter only will come out, okay, and that is not without the blood. That is called diarrhea. Okay, this usually happens. But if any person passes up about his fecal matter which contains blood and mucus into that, it means it is not a diarrhea, it is amoebic dysentery. Then first they have to approach the doctor to get it treated. Antibiotic treatments are there to treat it. Prevention. It can be controlled by hygienic conditions. Same thing, typhoid and others, whatever we said, hygienic condition. Prevent yourself eating at the roadsides, especially at that hotels and areas wherein you will see more flies are moving up. Don't get tempted by the food that so many days happened and other. No, it may be dangerous. So prevent eating of contaminated food, water, fruits, vegetables. Maintain proper sanitation. Even if you want to eat it, then bring it at the house. Those fruits if are there or vegetables are there, then thoroughly clean it, keep in the salty water for a maximum time. After cleaning you can consume, and if it is any food, bring it to the house, cook it properly again, let this particular cyst undergo a death due to a high temperature. Then after that, if you are having, it's good. If it is a water, filter it. Otherwise, boil the water for 20 minutes continuously, cool it, and then you can drink. This is how we can prevent many different types of problems. Pradeep, if stool color is black, the fecal matter is black, that's one of the type of constipation. Okay, it's a constipation. Constipation does not happen with only amoebic dysentery. Earlier also we have said constipation. It can happen with some problems in our enzymatic process also. That's not a thing. Problem, no problems. Food poison is different, students. Food poison over there, vomiting is one of the important symptom what we say, but here vomiting is not there because it stays in the large intestine. So the quicker way of removing is there only. Food poison happens up in the small intestine and mainly in the stomach, due to which vomiting usually will be there. Yes, surely there also fecal matter, but more vomiting. Food poisoning is different, this is different. Okay, no problems. Hope you have learned up everything. Okay, this is the tomorrow's class now that we have to learn. So till here I wanted to teach for the today's class. Tomorrow we are going to learn only one disease, students, only one disease in a detail, which is malaria. Much detail is present and you will love it the way the class will be conducted. Okay, till then study well, refer the notes whatever I have said. Hope you people might have enjoyed the today's particular class. Read the NCERT line by line, make up your notes. It is a prepared notes only whatever I have given, and please try to solve the MCQs from your material which has been sent to you. Okay, practice it about that. Till then, thank you, bye bye.